speech, and the director of the new OR initiative, which is housed at Chapman University, which is going to be working on alternatives to the ways that we've been having young people engage or disengage more often from each other on complex and contentious issues, especially related to the conflict. And I am delighted to have our guests today. We have Adnan Jabar and we have Mikey Abut, and I hope I didn't butcher that. How'd I do? That's okay. All right. And I could introduce them and sing their praises, but I think it probably is better if they introduce themselves and maybe take a little bit of time to tell us how they got, not literally how you got into this building, because no one needs to hear about the Anderson parking lot. It's a story. But how you came to be doing this work, because we have students here who've taken communication and civil discourse with me, and we have students from all over campus, and it's one thing to hear this kind of work is being done from your faculty. It's another thing to hear it from students. So Adnan, let's start with you. Thanks so much for being with us, both of you.
Thanks for inviting, Vicky. Pleasure to meet you all. I love the space. I'm jealous. Congrats to you. I know we are living now during tough times, really dark times. So I would like just to take few seconds just to more remember like those people that are dying right now in Israel and Palestine. So I just want to take this moment before we start, acknowledge. Thank you very much. My name is Adnan Jabar. I'm born and raised in Jerusalem, specifically East Jerusalem, to a Palestinian, Muslim, Arabic family. بحكي عربي. Anyone here speaks Arabic? Interesting, cool. 2.5. I studied in a Palestinian school in Jerusalem, and there I studied the regular stuff, English, Arabic, math, science, Islam as a religion, even though it was a Christian school. But I didn't learn Hebrew, and because of that, I didn't have one single Jewish friend for 22 years of my life living in Jerusalem. And also because of my Jewish neighbors, they didn't speak Arabic as well. That was a challenge. I finished high school. I went to study technology in Jenin. Do you know where's Jenin? Jenin is a city in the West Bank. You know the West Bank? Great. So, beautiful university. It's called the Arab American University. And I used to cross a lot the checkpoint going to this university. I experienced occupation, when I say occupation, military occupation over the Palestinian territories. I experienced it firsthand, growing up, studying. There's a lot to talk about it. I finished my degree in Jenin. I moved back to Jerusalem. I want to work in tech, just like I studied. It was really challenging. I didn't have connections with Israeli high-tech companies. I didn't have the language. Every time I go to the interview, I sit on the table, and the guy usually having a kippah, and I'm sweating and he's sweating. There is this connection and mistrust. One day, I was on Facebook. I saw an advertisement for a program called Tech to Peace. It brings Palestinians and Israelis to learn tech skills together, like coding, video, editing, web design, and dialogue with each other. I was 22 years. I was interested in the program. I wanted to apply to it, but I was afraid of the word peace in the program. For many Palestinians, seeing the word peace means accepting the status quo, means accepting the occupation. And they resist that. They call it normalization, they boycott it, and stuff like that. It's a challenge we need to overcome. But I needed a job. I needed to understand my neighbors in Jerusalem. And I went to this peace program. It was happening in Beersheba, in a kibbutz near Beersheba. Actually, a beautiful place. For the first time ever in my life, I took Egged bus. If you know the Israeli public transport, it's called Egged. lived in Jerusalem all my life. First time I take this public Egged bus from Jerusalem to Beersheba, then to Yerucham, where the program was happening. Why I mentioned the bus? Because like in the Palestinian, my upbringing, this bus was like the ones that usually get bombed and usually get terrorist attacks on it. So it was scary for me to go on this bus too. A lot of feelings from a lot of sides. I arrived at that dialogue program for the first time in my life. I met with Israelis to speak to them and not to hear just about them, but to hear from them. And there were Palestinians from the West Bank, Palestinian citizens of Israel, and from Jerusalem. The dialogue went for 2 weeks, and the tech training went for 2 weeks. Lovely experience, a lot to learn. I gotta say, I changed a lot from this experience. I saw a lot of stereotypes on both sides, misconceptions, and how the media is perceived differently from both sides. And at the end of the 2 weeks, I realized it's not just black or white. There are good people on both sides. There are angry, afraid people on both sides. I made my first Jewish friend at the age of 22. I went back to Jerusalem. It gave me more confidence to go to West Jerusalem, to Tel Aviv, to take the Egged buses. And then I started hearing about other peace programs. There are 180 peace programs in Israel and Palestine. I joined 25 of them. There's arts for peace, music for peace, dance for peace, religion for peace, yoga for peace, a lot of them. At the same time, I was doing a startup, so I was having flexibility to join all of these. And I traveled different countries doing those. Sometimes some programs, they don't like to do it in Israel or Palestine. They're afraid. They do it in Cyprus, or they do it in Jordan, or they do it in Turkey. 25 peace programs. I become more active in peace activism now. I find my confidence. I became a board member at Tech to Peace. Then I found the love of my life there. Her name is Michal Greenfield. She's Jewish, American, Israeli. I fell in love with a Jew. She's sweet. She's an artist. You know her.
I know her, yeah.
There was family drama. My family was like, this is wrong. What will people say about us? What your children are going to be like? Leave her, don't shame us. Her family, her father was supporter, he's amazing. Her mother was more conservative, she was against it. Her mother sent her to Israel, to the land of the Jews, so she can connect with her Jewishness, and she comes back with a Palestinian boyfriend. It's an interfaith space, right?
It's a plot twist.
Yeah. It was a shock to her mom. But after 1 year of our relationship, there was an opportunity, big story, how my mom got to meet Michal for the first time. She saw the human in her. She loved her. They connected. Until now, they are best friends. And we're still working on the rest of the family to schmooze. That's Michal. Then I started volunteering with OLMEP, the Alliance for Middle East Peace. It's the umbrella organization for the 180 peace organizations in Palestine. I wanted to help the CEOs know each other and work with each other. So I founded an affinity group for them, for the Peace Tech ones. And then I was here on a visit. I came on October 1st, 2023, for 10 days to see Michal's family that live here in Los Angeles. And while I was here, October 7th happened. My flight back to Israel was canceled because the airport stopped. My Israeli citizenship process was canceled and delayed until now. I still don't have an answer on it. I have Israeli ID. Born and raised in Jerusalem, I'm given an ID, but I'm not giving a citizenship. I can apply for citizenship, but that's a really hard process. That's a whole talk I can give to you. Citizenship was canceled. Michal decided that we stay here, we get married here, we get me a green card, and we live here. And that's what happened. Got married, got a green card, and then I got a job opportunity to teach at UCLA. So now I teach at UCLA, tech, AI, and peacebuilding.
Amazing.
And then I met Mikey
Yeah.
and the organization that is called Standing Together. Standing Together is Palestinian Israeli grassroots organization. Headquarters is in Israel, and they stand together for peace, for justice, for all, for safety, for ending the military occupation. And here we support them as friends of Standing Together. And I started volunteering with them, and then we saw the campus polarization and protests and violence that happened at UCLA. We were there. And we had our own protest. There were two camps. There was Palestinian camp, Israeli camp. And we said we want to do a camp. It's a purple color, and it's Palestinians and Israelis standing together for peace and justice for all, calling for ceasefire and release of the hostages and humanitarian aid. All at the same time. We can hold multiple truths at the same time. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Mikey was a very good sport when he got an email out of nowhere from someone who had seen him in an article months earlier in the New York Times, when there was a feature about students who were refusing to pick a side and instead were demanding that there be space, that rejecting the framing that you can be pro-Israel or pro-Palestinian. And my eyes snagged on this happening at UCLA. I went there as an undergrad. It's always been a place where if there's something going on in the Middle East, it reverberates through campus because there's a very high concentration of students with ties there. And I thought, I must find this person. And so Mikey's a very good sport because he's willing to answer emails from people he doesn't know, and then to accept their invitation. So Mikey, tell us a bit about yourself and where you're from and how you come to this.
Yeah, again, thank you for inviting us.
Our pleasure.
And thank you, Adnan, for your story. Adnan is also a good sport for coming with me.
Yeah.
So I'm now I'm a student at UCLA. Just beginning my MA there, but I was doing ethnomusicology and Middle Eastern studies for my undergraduate. And I was born and grew up on the other side of the fence. I'm Israeli. I grew up in Tel Aviv until the age of 12, where my family moved here. And I guess growing up in Israel, you don't get to hear a lot about whatever is happening. Obviously, when you see the news, things come up, but a lot of parts of the complexity of the situation in Israel-Palestine are kind of hidden from people. I would say intentionally, but growing up there and then moving here, I was, for me, the word peace was never threatening. Rather the opposite. I was thinking, okay, peace, because I knew that the situation is not good, and going to high school here as well. I was kind of in a state where I was, saying to myself that I'm pro-peace, that we can all, live together. Why the fighting? Why the war? And so on. And for me, that was like the place to be. But things did change for me when I went to work on a farm in Northern California for the first time. Let me just back up a little bit and just say also my background. I was born in Israel and grew up in Israel, and my family is from many, my ancestry is from different parts around the Middle East, and also one side of my grandma is a Holocaust survivor. One side from my grandpa actually has been in Palestine for like 150 years, which is pretty crazy. And then the other side's, Morocco, Turkey, and I'm kind of like a, an outcome of the people coming together and meeting each other, like Jews from different parts of the world. And I did actually, after high school, I moved back to Israel to live there. And I was working in construction somewhere in the south, close to Beersheba. But then again, the whole issue, the conflict, Israel-Palestine, the occupation, was something that was like kind of like, you know about, but you don't really interact with. And for me, I always said, that I'm for peace and, and against war, but it was a conceptual kind of idea. When I moved back to the States and I went to work on a farm in Northern California, there I met for the first time two people who are from Gaza. I never met a Gazan before in my life. It's kind of impossible, obviously, for Israelis to go there, and for Gazans to leave, it's very difficult, although it does happen. And I came with the same kind of energy that I had, like that I'm, for peace and why don't we all, get along, kind of thing. And after a few weeks of living with them, the situation kind of imploded. It was a lot of miscommunications. There was an elephant in the room, obviously, which was the occupation and the conflict and the situation. And I didn't know how to address it, not address it, deal with it, not deal with it. But eventually, another group of people who were there kind of decided to, bring it up, but it was in a very kind of aggressive way. And, after 4 weeks of living on the farm, me and this was my ex-girlfriend also at the time, and the two Gazans who were there as well, they were my age, and we didn't manage to live, thousands of miles away from where everything was happening. We had the same job, the same we were doing the same things, but we didn't manage to share the same space. And after that, I think I was obviously very emotional, because I came into the space and I felt like I was not accepted, and I didn't know why. I didn't feel like I aggravated anything. But it did bring a lot of self-reflection for me, because this was the moment when I said, okay, it was not as conscious as I'm speaking of it right now, but I said to myself, either I can just continue being like angry about the fact that there is a conflict, not the conflict between people and conflict between identities, or I can maybe reflect on what happened there and why is this a situation, and maybe how can I, if I get another opportunity like this, which is an opportunity, to meet someone who is all the political and geographical and like the walls, you're not supposed to meet, it's definitely not there. So I said to myself, how, if I get another opportunity like that, how can I actually make it so conversation does happen? And this was like a journey of a few years, but I think a big thing for me was realizing that what peace means for one person, as Adnan said before, may not be what it means for someone else. And that, kind of the peace that I was feeling that I was in, let's just get along, let's not be in conflict, was actually a little bit of now realizing it, thinking back, it was kind of like a silencing piece, a way of overlooking conflict and not being able to talk about things that are really difficult, actually, like really, really difficult, but really, really important because we want things to get, better. It was not easy for me, at the time to come from my own, identity and my own stories, and suddenly to realize that, I'm part of something. I'm part of, even though if I did not take active part in it, maybe not talking about it, is enabling, is part of the occupation. Maybe, not, those kinds of things. And that was like a few years of really, learning first about myself, because I always say that I think that people that take part in peace work, they have to do first a lot of personal work as well, and like emotional and spiritual work, because you're working with your identity and the identity of that community that you're part of, and sometimes these things conflict. And then I started, going to school here at UCLA, and taking part in more learning and work with going to more events also at UCLA. It's an international campus. There's so many people. My sister was actually studying with me, not in the program, but we were both students on campus. So we would, kind of like explore and go and learn more about things. And when October 7th happened, I felt like it was another one of those the kind of forks in the road, where I kind of like when I had 5 years ago, where I could ask myself, I could go down the road of righteousness and hate, which is almost like you feel like it's drawing you over there, to anger, and the other thing is, again, reflective, is instead of bringing that energy out, ask myself the questions. And this is what brought me to this organization. Obviously, I'm Israeli, so I felt connected to an organization that has to do with where my identity is as well. And we started organizing just a few months after October 7th in LA, not before anything at UCLA, just some people, some Israelis and Palestinians and allies, we started meeting and thinking about what can we do to be part of this conversation, to be part of whatever is happening. And this is also bringing me to, what you said before, is someone who not choosing a side. I actually, I feel more like we are, instead of not choosing a side and acting as a passive participant, we decided, along with the organization, also to that you must choose a side, and you must be, for us, obviously, you must be active and taking action and participating in this conversation. But the side is not necessarily the side of, of one nationality over another. That's the side of people who live there, which are all in different ways obviously there's a big power imbalance and a big part of there's a difference in volume, but there's a real struggle on this land for people from Adnan's nationality and also people from my nationality in different ways. And seeing these struggles as interconnected, and rather than one against the other, I feel like it made, for me, and it made a lot of sense to, you know, how much power we can achieve when we work together. Yeah. Then we can talk also a little bit, you know, we can talk about the campus, but we also did some stuff on campus activism. Yeah. But yeah, I will, just to finish, I will say that for me personally, this work is always really emotional. Like there's always questions, and you know, there's looking at, you know, seeing the news, but there's also the ability to ask the really difficult questions and have the really difficult conversations and be in uncomfortable situations, which are, you know, part of it. Yeah.
We have, I think, very different, I'm sure, amongst the students, different sort of levels of knowledge and awareness of these things. And I think whenever there's a very complex situation, a conflict, or any sort of political issue, it's tempting to make it easy, right? Like to make it binary. You're for this, you're anti this, you're this or you're that. I'd love to hear the two of you talk a little bit about, you know, why being pro-Israeli and being pro-Palestinian are actually the same thing. You've done it a little bit, but also I'm curious how you talk to different audiences about the role that, for example, Hamas plays in that framing for you, right? Because you've spent time on more campuses than I have. You've seen, you know, students claiming to be pro-Palestinian and waving, you know, Hamas flags, and then we see the protests in Gaza with incredibly brave Gazans who are protesting against Hamas. So I wonder if you can just, because we're dealing with different levels of knowledge, how you sort of frame all of that.
Sure.
Yeah, would be wonderful.
You mentioned the sides, so I tell you my sides.
Tell me.
I don't see Palestinian only or Israeli only. I see builders and destroyers. The builders for me are the ones who want to bring people together, Palestinian and Israeli, and want to coexist and coexist. And the destroyers are the ones who want to divide us and stereotype us and incite violence. On Hamas, I don't believe in violence as a solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Not from the Palestinian side, not from the Israeli side. We say in standing together, there's no military solution to this conflict. There are 7 million Palestinians between the river and the sea, and there are 7 million Jews between the river and the sea, and nobody's going to go anywhere. We need to figure it out together. This is the way. And from joining so many dialogue programs, understanding the different narratives on all sides, I understood that the core of the conflict is not the borders, it's not Jerusalem, it's not the refugees. They are all serious problems that we need to address. But the core of the conflict is trust and mistrust. And that's what we need to build and work on.
I think I'm a communication professor.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful thing to reframe who's on which side. And I think the idea of framing people who build and people who destroy as who's against each other is a very, very useful way of thinking about that. We talked about this a little bit on the phone, on Zoom when we were preparing, but I'm curious if you can talk about the resistance that you find amongst Americans who have become very involved and invested in campus conflict after October 7th, people who don't have direct ties, who don't have family there. What are the things that they misunderstand the most about your framing of this in this way and resist the reframing in the ways that you're talking about?
You want to take it? Or I take it?
Sure.
I noticed here when people are more disconnected from what's happening on the ground, they're more opinionated, they're more to the extreme, and they are less willing to empathize. Unfortunately, I experienced it on both of the sides here, more than in Palestine and Israel itself. There they understood their lives are intertwined and they need to do things together. But here there's a lot of idealism. And unfortunately that is not serving us. If you care about peace in Israel and Palestine, please help the builders do their work there. And don't empower the destroyers dividing us there. So that's how I view it.
Mikey, what do you think?
Yeah, this is something that I've been thinking about a lot. Specifically, we actually talked about it on the way here. Is that I kind of don't want to take a stance of criticizing, of just criticizing people who are, active in a way that's dismissive, because I do that a lot. I do that sometimes. It's very easy, but then I think back to the way that we're more powerful when we come together, and we can do that with people who are active for the Palestinian cause and people also who are active for the Israeli cause. And so I just wanted to put this up front, because I think I'm not saying this as a disclaimer. I'm saying this because I think it's really important. Because once you're dismissive, then you cannot build ties anymore. Mm-hmm. You cannot hold hands anymore, or have a conversation. I mean, you've probably experienced that, when you talk to parents or whatever. I don't know. When people dismiss you, then you suddenly close off and be really defensive. And also talking about activism here in the United States, I think I personally also know, just being a student at UCLA, I know a lot of people who do not have any familial ties to the land, but were really active. And from how I saw it, a lot of people, they see what's happening on the news. Mm-hmm. They say, we have to do something about it.
Absolutely.
And they see people doing something about it, so they join. And I personally think that's very admirable. A lot of people, though, as well, that I talked to, felt that, some of the spaces became radicalized very quickly. Whether or not is a good thing depends on, who you are. But I think, again, for me, that once a space is dismissive in the same way that we can be, or denies participation, not even based on identity, because there were, in the protests, there were many Jewish people, but I feel like it's strategically, it's a missed opportunity, mm-hmm. strategically, because then it's closing off walls again, and you're saying, this is what we stand for, but I mean, I had my own experience with not being, accepted into that camp, and I think that we can achieve much, much, much more if we put some of our differences aside, if we have a cause that we are here for. And is about your question about Hamas, from knowing people and talking to people. I think this is a really small fraction.
I agree.
But yeah, just to put it out there,
On the streets now in Gaza, Palestinians are protesting Hamas. They're saying
They
Hamas
are.
out. It's been for 2-3 weeks.
Showing unbelievable courage.
Yeah.
Because there's not exactly freedom of speech on the streets of Gaza, right?
And they're
the
being
consequences
tortured
are
and they're
absolutely-
being killed, unfortunately.
It shows both courage and desperation.
We need to stand with those people who
We
want
do.
peace, who want to stop the war, just
Yeah.
want to live. And in Israel, in Tel Aviv, in Kaplan, in
Absolutely.
Jerusalem, there are a lot of protests saying no for the war. See? And the end of the occupation. And the statistics also shows that the majority doesn't want Hamas. The majority doesn't want Bibi Netanyahu right now. And here in the States, when they talk about Israel-Palestine, there's the feeling that I need to protect my people no matter what. So the Palestinians want to protect only the Palestinian narrative and not criticize it, and they feel that if they did, they would lose their battle with the other side, and this is not helping us. And the opposite, the same. So we can fight anti-Semitism and anti-Israelism, and at the same time call for Palestinian right for self-determination, call for Palestinian safety and humanitarian aid. We can do both at the same time. And if we're Palestinian or pro-Palestinian, we can call for the ceasefire, humanitarian aid, and criticize Israel government for the things, and criticize also Hamas and the wrong things that the Palestinian Authority also does. We can also hold both truths. And that's what we need the most here right now.
What communication strategies have you found are most effective for getting people out of those camps, right? Like the Americans, as you say, who are holding a narrative that if I'm going to protect my own, then I can't acknowledge what has to happen on the other side. What's been most effective for you in getting people to rethink?
I tried few stuff. I have an Instagram page called AI on Israel-Palestine. I just show the different perspectives on things from the different viewpoints. On each question, I ask AI very hard questions every day, one question, and I post it, and people in the comments fight. and that's the thing, the people in the comments fight, and they don't, maybe some people read and actually get influenced, but what appears on the surface is the polarization, and that's what, when the next reader comes and see the comments, they say, oh, this is not, people there hate us. So just arguing and debating, I noticed here in the US, is not helping or serving the issue of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Although it's intellectually important and good to debate, but we need less debate, more dialogue. We need people to connect with each other, empathize with each other, see the Palestinian, the Muslim to see the Jew, the Palestinian to see the Israeli eye to eye, and say, I know this person. Not just I talk about Palestine or Israel as a concept, but I know actually a person, and I care about him and about his family. When that happens, when there's this empathy, things will move on.
I love that. Yeah,
and I want to add, you said communication techniques, right? I would also add that, not only techniques for talking to people, but also a technique, to use as someone yourself. I find that coming into a conversation with the aim to listen and not to use, not to try to affect the other person's opinions, is like, it's crazy. You are able to pick up on so many things on a person's story, and it does take effort, but which you will completely miss if you are coming into a conversation and saying, okay, I'm coming to this conversation with someone who is supposedly my enemy, and I will try to change their views forgot the word, go against it, whatever, argue with them.
Yeah.
And I like that is actually also very difficult because if you are one of those identities, you know, either Jewish or Israeli or Palestinian or Arab or Muslim, sometimes hearing another person's story, like life story, could be really, really difficult because, you know, little things can point on like existential questions, you know. If I hear about a friend's family's displacement story for 48, you know, and I know that my grandma, you know, came from Poland, you know, around that time. It's for me immediately like it could bring up a lot of like emotions that are defensive in it, but then I can say, okay, you know, but then I'm not able actually to understand and to hear these stories, and I think that's, you know, there's a long way to go with that, to how much you can really hear, you know, how people that are not from your own identity live and experience this. Could be really, really helpful to kind of expand, you know, certain corners of the conception.
Yeah. I want to ask one more question, then I want to open up so that everyone else here can ask you questions. But you circled around something that I wanted to ask about. In my class, my students read about how social media distorts how we think people think about contentious issues, because people who are extremists post more and argue in the comments with each other and do all of these things, and moderates consume much more than they post, and because of that, most of the content we see is more extreme.
Yes.
And we assume that more people are extreme than are moderate because of that, because we think it's a reflection of reality. How do you see social media and technology as an opportunity to spread different perspectives, and where do you see the challenges and the limits of it?
And unfortunately, social media platforms reward extremism, angry posts,
outrage.
The algorithm pushes it up because it gets the eyeballs, and when there's more attention on social media, the ads work better, get paid. It's rewarding their business, unfortunately. It's a big, big problem, how social media has ignited this polarization. There are tech tools that are, on the other side, good, helping people see and find their common grounds, like Tinder. I can share with you in my class, for example, AI is a great tool to combat anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. Just ask it any question. Hey, ChatGPT, do Jews control the world? It will tell you, no, this is conspiracy theory. Hey, are Palestinian terrorists? It will tell you, no, don't overgeneralize, this is unfair, not wrong, and it's a small group. So that's one thing that has been good at. Another thing I found it good at is finding common grounds. I was like about to meet another organization, and I asked ChatGPT, I am now with the hat of standing together, I'm gonna meet this other organization. What are all the things that you think we have in common? So it goes, searches the internet, finds all the things that we have in common. So it prepares me where we can start the conversation from. I found this interesting.
Yeah.
And not just on organizations level, in humans. I'm meeting this person, AIs go and search this person's LinkedIn and social media and finds us all the things that we can talk about and we connect on. And not just one-on-one, it can find 100 people, 1,000 people, all the things that they have in common, the power of AI today. I find this very interesting, very powerful. We need to use it. Actually, we used it.
Also suggests we should be more honest in what we post on our pages, because otherwise we won't find the things we have in common.
Exactly. True. With the Alliance for Middle East Peace, we did a partnership with a tech platform called Remesh, uses AI. It's an online dialogue software. where we join and we start talking to the AI all at the same time live. And the moderator asks us questions, we answer them, and it immediately find the things that we agree, we disagree on based on some votes, and then informs the next question the AI will ask us, and we answer it, each from their place. And after half an hour, we were able to find the priorities of our messaging to the residents, to the leaders. 180 organizations found their
common ground.
Call to action and their priorities. You can find the common ground maybe naturally with a Google form, but now with AI you can find even the priorities, which is harder and needs a lot of dialogue between organizations to be able to find it. We found it in half an hour. And now the head of Google, Jigsaw, shared on her LinkedIn that this is the most inspiring thing that she has seen.
That's amazing.
I have like the messages that we have and how we came up to it. I can share it in a slideshow another time when we come.
Yeah, wonderful.
I'm going to give a talk at Google next week about this.
Lucky them. Well, I want to turn it over to you. Students can come to ask a question to the microphone, or we can pass them around.
Yeah, and please feel comfortable. I take really any question. I don't take things personally. Any question. It can be personal, it can be general, it can be something you're challenged with. I don't mind.
Same.
I don't know about you. Same?
No,
okay.
It might not be easy. Yeah, I'll do my best, but
who's going to be the first?
What would you say is like the biggest challenge in like establishing a voice on campus?
Yeah, actually, we didn't really talk about what we did on campus. So, the biggest challenge. Well, first I'll say just a little bit of some of the things that we did. First, we came and gave flyers on Bruin Walk. I don't know if you have a sort of similar thing here. Like
There's nothing like Bruin Walk. I mean,
Yeah.
Bruin Walk is like a highway.
Yeah, like a highway of students. I
Yeah.
avoided like the plague, but for giving flyers, that's good. So we just started doing that, and we had, and we give flyers, but really a lot of the people just come and ask questions, and that's when we had some really interesting conversations with people who were kind of shocked just to see me and Adnan like standing together and giving flyers and cookies. We give also, yeah, because they were like, this doesn't. It's like a.
There's a
It's
competition.
like a bug in the brain.
Also, there's a competition on Bruin Walk at UCLA. A lot of people are giving sweets and cookies.
Oh yeah.
So we needed like to step up.
Exactly. That's a challenge for sure. Then you probably saw the news at UCLA last year. So we did, as Adnan said, we established a voice there as well in the big protest and counter-protest. And it was actually kind of crazy. There was the pro-Palestinian camp and the pro-Israeli camp. And we were kind of somewhere in the middle. And, chanting and doing our things. And something crazy happened where some people from the pro-Palestinian camp joined our chant. And then some people from the pro-Israeli camp joined our chant as well. They didn't know. They thought that we were with them or with them.
Our chant was...
In Gaza and Tel Aviv, all the children want to live.
Yeah.
And that's the chant that they joined on. And so this gave us a lot of motivation, to see that there's actually room for, for people to, maybe they don't agree with them, but through, us or someone like that, through a intermediary, there's a way actually to join forces for some cause.
If the only two options you're given are this camp or this camp, there must be people who would rather have something that is in between.
Yes.
in a meaningful way, right? Not in a way that takes from both. It's a wonderful image that you start chanting and people start drawing quite literally towards a middle.
Because it's very nuanced and complicated, and we are students on a university. You know, like a lot of the, a lot of the times in university, if you say like in class, it's either this or that, then the professor will be like, well,
it depends.
Yeah,
everything.
Let's talk about it. Here's a 50-page reading on how it can be both, or I don't know.
I feel very attacked, Mikey.
Yeah. But I would say the challenges, this will be funny, but mostly like time commitment.
Time commitment.
Yeah, and
we are underfunded. We don't have people free in their time to do this like the others on other sides.
Right.
Yeah, we are completely, it's completely voluntary, grassroots, just because we believe in it. So I know that some clubs on campus that have more attraction, they're also part of like bigger systems, and people, there's already a kind of a chain of commands and people know what to do. We don't really have that. We kind of just say, something happened, okay, we need to be there. We need to be on campus talking to some people, and then that's why we're also we're not like 1,000 people. But I think a lot of it was time commitment and also organizing. But that to say, it's also like organizing is also was made possible also, but just by the university kind of system. You can apply for funding as a student organization and then reserve a room. And now, for example, we're organizing a screening for the film No Other Land. Does not have a distributor here, so we thought it would be a good idea to do it, to screen it at UCLA. So it's helpful, when you are part of an institution also. Yeah.
Even more helpful if you have a funding organization that makes things easier
exactly.
for you. Yeah.
Another challenge.
Sorry.
Another challenge I'm feeling right now is the fear of deportation. I'm afraid because I come from Palestinian background, talking about peace, I'm already a target, and I'm questioning every time I come to those speaking engagements.
Yeah, it was one of the questions I wanted to ask is how things have shifted, because we are seeing students and people on visas being picked up for all sorts of reasons, real and manufactured, and I want to acknowledge that I think the work took courage in 2023 and in 2024, and it takes a lot more courage to do what you're both doing in 2025. I want to thank you for being here to do that.
Thank you.
Because we all benefit from your courage. Who else? I know this group, and I know they're not quiet. Yeah, there he is. Luke?
So, I don't know, this question might not have an answer, but what is the end goal? That's really it, like, in your guys' mind, what's the end goal? What's, like, the goal of your police organization, and, like, what is the ideal picture of how everybody comes out of this?
Can you be just a little more specific?
What's the goal?
What's the end goal of
standing together?
Is that what you mean? Of of the work that we do? Yeah. Yeah, that's a big one.
Peace in the Middle East.
Yeah, but
How does it look like?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think there's different levels. I think to begin with, like the end goal here is to have a larger pool of people that are that we can actually affect and make change. It's already actually just people on the ground there seeing that there are people in the international sphere, being active for that cause. It makes them and gives them motivation, and that their organization also grows. But yeah, I would definitely say that the end goal would be what you said, peace in the Middle East, like living, in freedom, in everyone to live in freedom with no, worries for bombs or attacks or anything like that.
Yeah.
If that's what you were asking, I don't know if that's...
Sure, I mean, it's kind of an open question.
It's a great question. I love this imaginary question. I imagine and dream of, harmony, coexistence, Palestinians, Israelis, Muslim, Jews, between the river and the sea. I would love if there's a one state, everyone is equal, understand the challenges to that. At this moment, I would accept any state solution that would just end the military occupation, give people the right for self-determination, would end the violence on the other side as well. I would accept any solution, and from there we can build on the trust to reach my dream, where we all live equally and safe together without borders. And now to reach that end of the occupation, there are also other more urgent steps like the ceasefire, like the release of the hostages, all of them, and the innocent Palestinian prisoners, and humanitarian aid, and reconstructing Gaza. All these are goals we wish to see.
When we spoke on the phone, on Zoom, I keep saying the phone, we don't speak on phones anymore. I said something about the settlements in the West Bank and what it would mean to, be able to establish a state there. And you smiled at me and said, we are so far away from those endpoints, because before we can get to an outcome, we must start with building trust and mutual respect. And I think you said 3 or 4 other things, because all I could think was, I have just done a very American thing, which is start with the outcome and work backwards through a process. And what you were suggesting was, if you start in a better place, whatever the outcome is, as you were saying, whatever outcome it is that comes from that will be better, because we started in a better place, which perhaps is a more locally grown idea of what it means to find coexistence, where the American idea is, I have a solution.
Lead by example.
And I will work my way backwards, and perhaps the American idea doesn't work in the Middle East. The evidence would suggest the American idea has not worked in the Middle East. So perhaps it is time to try a more Middle Eastern solution to a Middle Eastern problem. Other questions, thoughts? Yes, Eunice.
How do you model dialogue for people who are completely in opposite spectrums? They have different needs, different grievances, different sensibilities.
Good question.
About 15 years ago, I consulted on a play called Salam Shalom.
I know them.
You know Salim, he's a friend of mine. He struggled. He wrote the play and he started acting in it, and he struggled with modeling for the audiences that conversation, because the play is about 2 lovers. One is Israeli and one is Palestinian. And they have an incredible relationship until they get into the politics of the situation, and then it all goes crazy. And I remember telling Salim, why are you doing this play? And he said, I really want to educate people more about the issue. And I told him, the way that you wrote the play, it's really the way that reality is that you're not able to get through to your partner about this, and he's not able to get back through to you. So if you are going to, in fact, changing the audience, you have to model a different kind of dialogue. So we worked on that. So the play has been made around the country for about 3 years.
Nice.
Towards the second half of the second year, we changed the dialogue between the 2 of them around particular politics of Israel and Palestine. And what we were getting from the audience is that now they have seen a model of how they can talk to their friends, to their partners about this. So I'm wondering, what model do you show others about how to talk about this stuff?
Great question. How can we bring people to dialogue? Some people, Palestinians, they wouldn't accept sitting with Israelis, sitting with the idea of Zionism, and from the other side, sitting with a Palestinian or with a Hamas supporter or with someone who believes in resistance. those are red lines for them. They wouldn't engage in dialogues. How can we bring, those are the people we need in dialogue, so they can, how can we bring them together? So in Israel and Palestine, I learned that they do uninational dialogue. We start with Palestinian-only dialogue, with Israeli-only dialogue. Just Palestinians among themselves. They sit, those who experience dialogues talk to those who never experienced it, and just tell them about the experience and what they've learned and what they've, in a dialogue session. Eventually prepares them to meet the other side. That's what has been working. So this is one thing, uninational dialogue before binational dialogue. The other one is find a common ground. I'm on the board of Tech to Peace. Palestinians, I didn't go for the sake of peace for this program. I went there for the tech. I stayed for the peace because I found out it's great at the end. So yeah, there's arts for peace, music for peace, dance for peace. So we use common grounds.
It's wonderful. Who else? We have time for one or two more questions.
I just had a question for on campus. So you said there's like a lot of international students at UCLA. Do you find that American students or Palestinian/Israeli students tend to be more receptive to the idea of coming together?
Did everyone hear that? Yeah, she's curious at UCLA, given that there's a lot of international students, whether Israeli and Palestinian students or American students are more receptive to this idea that you can find common ground and kind of come together.
Yeah, it's hard to answer that question based on like ethnicity or nationality, because both American students and also Israeli/Palestinian students sometimes have a difficulty to, believe in that. But there are also people that are, that are more receptive. I could speak from experience that I think all the Palestinian students that I met at UCLA, I was able to have a conversation with them. After I was Israeli, obviously, yeah, I can't think of a situation with another Palestinian student who rejected me based on my identity. With American students, also there's different occasions, but I would say, that there was more, I don't know, what can you do? Like there's a strong, idealism, I think. I don't know, but sometimes I was rejected just based on my identity. But then again, I don't know if it points to, specific traits of a nationality. I don't think we should do that, but I think maybe it points about lived experience and maybe humility. I don't know, just like, when you're coming to take part in a cause, then you want to learn as much as you can about it and be as strategic and as helpful as you can about it. And sometimes you can do things that are strategically not helpful without knowing. I would say, but I wouldn't say American students are like this, Israeli-Palestinian or Palestinian students are like that. Yeah, maybe you want to say something?
That's okay, I'll take the next question.
So I'll just start by saying I don't claim to be an expert in any of this, so if I sound completely ignorant,
it's all right.
But regarding this issue, what I've noticed through conversations with people I know who have personal ties to this issue is that the media and internalized generational hate have had detrimental impacts to this war. And while higher governmental and extremist forces can be mostly to blame for what's happening, it's the citizens of each place that become the targets and victims to these terrible crimes.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some ways, if any at all, that we as a society can break down that kind of generational divide and those misconceptions that have been major contributors to this conflict? Or do you think that it might not be possible to ever get to a point where those kind of harsh misconceptions don't exist or impact the ability for Israelis and Palestinians to connect?
what are major ways to combat these misconceptions? This is your
Yeah,
question.
these kind of
Generational
like,
trauma,
misconceptions
misconceptions from both sides.
If any at all.
Education, going to history classes,
That'll help. Yeah.
your work, dialogue,
Yeah.
programs, uninational, binational,
Yeah.
reading news from both sides. We talk about it a lot, but we don't do it. Who here listens to news from both sides, from Fox News and CNN at the same time, from the Jerusalem Post and from Al Jazeera at the same time when it comes to the Israel-Palestine?
I do, but I know
This
I'm
is
not
your
normal.
homework. This is what I do. It's actually, I did a lot of news agencies, but if you want to really get the middle of everything, do Jerusalem Post with Al Jazeera, do CNN with Fox. You'll eventually find what's in the middle.
Or you start appreciating that people live in completely different information universes a lot of
Also,
the time, right?
also.
Yeah.
And I want to add also that a lot of the misconceptions and the blindness that happens, and as you said, does come from generational, generational trauma that is passed down and stories that are passed down, and the way that your community and your parents tell you how you need to experience this world, and who are your enemies and who are your friends. And that's why I think, again, I'm going back again to the emotional work, is that I think that this is a place that that we can do work in for Jews, for example. The generational trauma of the Holocaust, a lot of the time is passed down and creates this inability to empathize. Because we are the only victims. We are, and I do not want to speak for the Palestinians because I'm not Palestinian. But I do know that in many nationalities around the world, that experienced mass displacement, genocide, and ethnic cleansings, there's a draw to kind of protect what you have, which is very important. But a lot of the times it can also you cannot also not be able to see, and empathize with other people who are so-called your enemies. So I think a big part of it is also doing a lot of that self-work, a lot of that, reflection, and listening at the same time.
Yeah, and I would say some people argue that we have tried peace, we have tried dialogue for 77 years, and the outcome, the other side doesn't want peace and doesn't want. And I tell these people that we didn't really try peace. We didn't try it enough. I look at how much money has been going to defense systems and military on both sides, versus how much money that has been going to peace education and cross-border initiatives and stuff like that. It's incomparable. It's nothing. $250 million were sent from the U.S. to Israel-Palestine peace organizations. It sounds a lot, but put it next to 18 billion of military aid. We didn't try peace. Not really. So give peace a chance.
Yes.
One more example. In Northern Ireland, I learned that it has been invested $55 per person in peace education, cross-border and stuff. In Israel and Palestine, I learned that it has been invested $3 per person.
Okay. So we've got work to do. Before we close, most of the research I do is qualitative. I interview people. And the last question I always ask them, just in 2 minutes, what's the thing we should have asked you about today that you wish we'd asked you about today and we didn't? What did we leave out? So just take a couple minutes each, and we'll use that as a way to close.
I didn't leave anything on my heart. I'm gonna leave with good.
Well,
good
maybe I can just say that for those of you, maybe just a little, I don't know, for those of you who feel like that you do have, I don't know, work to do and you want to take part, I would encourage you to, do whatever you think is, could help and...
The call to action.
Yeah, organize with your fellow students, create events, learn and be across difference. That's the important thing, because if you are stuck in your bubble, then it feels great, but it can actually really hinder and harm, the people that you think that we are fighting for. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Follow Standing Together. Standing Together English on Instagram. It's called Standing Together English. Standing Together LA. This is us. Follow us on Instagram. And on our Instagram, in the bio, you will see also the link to the upcoming events. Join our WhatsApp announcement group. It's in our bio. There you will know our upcoming events. We have 2 beautiful events. The first is on the 29th of April, on my birthday. It's the memorial ceremony for the bereaved families. They are Palestinians and Israelis who lost family members due to the conflict. A brother, a sister, a mother that have died on both sides. Yet they came to sit with each other, to dialogue with each other, to reconcile. And when they saw the other's pain, just like they have that pain, they empathized with each other. It's powerful. Those people are the ones that are supposed to have the most revenge in them. They are the ones that are leading the movement right now. We have no excuse. Nobody has an excuse. Mm-hmm. No one tell me anti-Semitism. It exists. It's important, and we need to fight anti-Semitism. But it's not the only. There are people who experience it even more than us and choosing another path. Let's follow them. And same for the Palestinians, I say.
What's the second event that you have coming?
So the memorial ceremony on the 29th, just write on Google, Combatants for Peace, or just follow us on Standing Together. We already announced it. It's on our Instagram. Subscribe to it so you can watch it. You'll cry watching it. The second thing is on the 4th of May, 4th or 6th? 4th of May. It's Time, a conference, it's called It's Time, the second biggest peace conference in Israel-Palestine happening. Peace activists all are coming into Jerusalem, one place, raising their voices. Very powerful event. Historical, actually.
Fantastic.
Never happened before. So you can also watch that live. Or come to LA and watch it with us, support us.
Fantastic.
And start Standing Together Chapman University. Yalla, it's time.
That would be wonderful. Please join me in thanking these 2 wonderful
Thank you.
people for being
Thank
here.
you.
And if you weren't quite brave enough to ask a question in front of everybody, but you want to ask one privately, you're welcome to come up. And if you didn't take a cookie when you walked in, please take one on your way out. Otherwise, I have to eat them myself. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to us.
Thank you.
Pleasure, Yunus.